My best friend Kelly passed away 2 years ago. We were both childhood friends. She adopted her dog Leo 7 years ago and we became attached to him, and he was the bond that made our friendship stronger. When she passed away, I took him in a few months after she passed, and it felt like she was there every time he runs in or cuddles with me. I recently moved in with my fiance. He lives out of town, and brought Leo in with me. I could sense that my fiance didn't feel comfortable with having Leo live with us. He sat with me and asked if we could offer him up for adoption since I've been busy with college and he was busy working. I told him the story behind taking Leo in and he sort of dropped it. During the last couple of weeks, I was visiting my parents and asked my fiance to take care of him while I was away. He said okay. I called every night to check in on Leo and I could hear him bark in background, but a few days later, he stopped. My fiance told me he was outside. I came back, and I noticed Leo was gone. I waited till my fiance got back and he sat me down and explained that while he was out with Leo, a family approached him and asked him if he was putting him up for adoption, and said they were willing to provide a home for him, since their son who didn't let go of Leo lost his dog who looked the same/age as him. He said he felt sorry for the kid and decided to give them Leo. I was in shock. I lost it and yelled at him that it wasn't his place because Leo was mine. He lashed out saying I was hurting his feeling and overreacting. I told him he needed to get him back. He just gave me their number and told me to handle it. I've had a hard time trying to get him back, and I did eventually. I packed up and moved back with my parents. My fiance is calling and apologizing, then saying that he can no longer pay for rent on his own. I didn't reply. My family say I should forgive him and get over it, but I just couldn't. I feel heavy and unable to even talk to him anymore. Not the idiot. Please don't ever forgive him for that. Animals are a part of the family. If my partner did this, I would end things with him. My partner dislikes animals, but at the end of the day he knows my fur babies mean the world to me. He respects that and is always kind to them. He just won't do much with them unless I'm not home to care for them. Your fiancé had no right to give away your dog. It's obvious he didn't care about your feelings, and prioritized his own. This wasn't a dispute over ugly dishes or a rug. Screw him. Not the idiot. Who the hell does that? A heartless snake, that's who. If he would do something that messed up, it doesn't bode well for your future. Too bad he can't make the rent. He should have thought of that before he gave away a dog you loved and had such a special attachment to because of your friend. Your relationship is over. Some things don't require forgiveness. Your family needs to stay out of it, and when he's living in his car, maybe he'll think twice before he does something that unbelievably cruel and thoughtless again. Not the idiot. There's so many red flags here. You could make yourself a pretty scarf. You are 1000% correct in leaving this as a relationship-ending action, and the fact he can't see that makes it scarier. People that have a lack of empathy or emotional attachment often have other broader mental issues at play. The fact that he did not care at all about how you felt about your dog, which you loved, is enormous and kind of hard to comprehend. Who does that? It will only get worse from here. He would likely start to get controlling if he feels he can give your animal away. Yikes. When I was 15, my then 19-year-old stepsister had a baby. She was still living at home at the time and didn't know who the dad of her daughter was, so my mom and her decided I would need to babysit every day after school until someone else got home. This went on until I turned 18 and moved out of my mom and stepdad's house and in with my brother, who was the same age as my stepsister. My stepsister and I were never sisters. We never called each other family or had a relationship built on anything. So I never regarded her daughter as my niece, and I never planned to be an overly involved figure. After I moved out, I saw her 3 times in the past 6 years. I did not have a strong attachment to her, and I certainly never considered her like my own. But my mom and stepsister have hyped me up to her. They have told her that all these stories that are simply not true. Stories about me cuddling her to sleep and how I used to call her my little baby, how I adored her more than anyone else in the world. My mom had taken a few photos of me and her that she had staged at the time. They show her those as if they were moments my mom had walked in on. So she has been waiting for this aunt figure who considers her their own child. And when we saw each other 3 times this year, mostly focused on the fact I was having a baby, she was incredibly jealous and angry. The last time was at my grandparents' house. My partner and I were focused on our baby, and she was very emotional and trying to grab my attention. This is when what my mom and stepsister had been telling her came to light. She accused me of replacing her, of my baby stealing her place and trying to push her out. She said I used to do all that stuff with her and now I didn't and it wasn't fair. She asked my stepsister to get me to do that stuff for her again. After some questions it came to light what she was talking about. She wanted me to dedicate myself to her the way she had been told I had. She wanted me to put her before my child. My grandparents told my stepsister to leave and after some arguing she did leave with her daughter. Then they asked my mom what the hell she'd been thinking and what happened from there as my mom called after everyone else had left my grandparents and told me I needed to talk to stepsister's daughter and help them fix the hurt she was going through. I told her it was not my job to fix a problem she and my stepsister created. My mom told me it was about a child, not about them, and I was not being very compassionate. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. While she's right in saying that this is about the child, there's no reasonable way for you to fix what they caused. To be honest, I wonder what exactly they expect you to do. Give up your own baby and adopt her? If your, roughly, 9 years old niece is that fixated on an aunt she's hardly seen for most of her life and particularly for most of the life she can remember, something is wrong in her own home. Yes, she needs someone to help her, but that should be a professional. You've done nothing wrong. Of course it's a bit sad you never formed an actual connection, but that doesn't make you an idiot. You were a teenager who didn't choose to become a free babysitter for 3 years. Congrats on your own child. Not the idiot. And really, any time you engage with her now will reinforce in her mind that she is entitled to your time and effort. It doesn't matter if you sit down with her and tell her she was nothing to you, do not do that obviously, she will only see it as you giving her the attention she thinks she deserves. Also, sitting down and talking with her will lead to your mom and stepsister to ask more of you because now you're in her life. Do what is necessary for you and your child. Your step-niece is a stranger to you and views your child as a threat/rival/obstacle. You owe her nothing and it's up to you stepsister to parent her. Just be aware that anyone twisted enough to lie to a child this way and attempt to manipulate you with the child is going to lie their way out of it. Who knows what they'll tell her next? Oh, now it's about the child, and not all those years she and your stepsister were lying and setting her up for heartbreak. What was it about then, I wonder? Was it about their selfishness trying to set a trap to guilt you into becoming free childcare? Was it about ensnaring you back into their bullcrap world where they can abuse you? Or maybe it was about satisfying their own needs and desires over you and that child's feelings. Now it's about the child when the consequences of their actions are hurting this child. Not the idiot. It's not on you. They are absolute idiots for doing this to a kid, putting you in that situation, and trying to force you to clean up their mess. To preface, I love my husband to death and he is a great man and husband. But he will never take accountability for not doing what needs to be done, and believes that his way of thinking is valid, even when it's not. My husband had plans to travel for work, and to have his out-of-town colleague stay in our home for 2 nights on the day he comes back. He's told me about this 2 to 3 weeks prior. He left on Tuesday morning, coming back on Thursday evening. I told him that I would get the entire house ready for his guest and that the only thing I ask of him is to get the guest room ready. Over the past couple weeks, I would keep reminding him to get the guest room ready as I'm deep cleaning the house on top of cooking meals, taking care of our dog, and doing laundry. Mind you, I work full-time and also happen to be out of town for work on Monday and Tuesday. I got home late last night and went straight to bed. I woke up this morning and called him, asked if he got the guest room ready before he left town. He was very hesitant to answer the question, so I decided to check on the room myself. It was not ready, and in fact he had dumped some of his old stuff on the bed that he intends on donating. The bed wasn't made, old boxes and wrappers from his purchases thrown everywhere, and vacuuming hasn't been done. The only task I asked him to do for his guest was to just get the room ready. Then, he says that it's something that I need to do since he's the one working and that there hasn't been enough time. Again, I work full-time and was out of town on M&T, and the past few weekends, he's been doing nothing but wake up at noon, watch football and drink with friends. Obviously, I'm frustrated at this point. I basically told him that there's nothing he can say to make this okay because all I'm hearing from him at this point are excuses to try to justify himself on leaving all the household duties on his wife. I also told him that it's not the 1950s anymore and that the idea of a housewife died when women started to go to work full-time. I ended the phone call with something like, I don't know who you think I am, but if you think I'm going to do everything for you like how your mother did, you may as well go back home because I'm not the one. He then started to gaslight me and calling me dramatic, That I always have a stick up my butt when he's out of town, and that I should have done it if I had all the time to whine and cry about the room to him over the past few weeks. There's more said and done to this scenario, but this post summarizes this interaction. Am I the idiot for being incredibly frustrated and stressed out that he wouldn't do this one task for his guest, prioritize his responsibilities? Or am I overreacting and should just clean and set up the guest room, after I've deep cleaned our 2,000 square feet home over the past 2 weeks after work and over the weekends? Not the idiot, but stop acting like getting the room ready is your responsibility. Once you told him that getting the guest room ready was his job, you should have dropped it. No nagging, no arguing, no mention of it at all. When the guest arrives and the room is however it is, just tell him that your husband said he'd do it and let your husband deal with whatever happens next, embarrassment, his guest's hurt feelings, whatever. The more you talk about the room, the more it became your thing, not his. The best thing is to back out and let him live with the consequences. Wow, it seems like we shared same husband. My soon-to-be ex-husband didn't work too and demanded me to clean, cook and making him lunch after he was in bed till noon and then was whole day on his phone. And when I wanted to relax a little and play some PC games, he yelled at me for being lazy. This article made me so angry. You now need to set boundaries or send him back to his mother. If he will, let's start to help you, just stop cooking for him and clean. Let's see if he will understand. I don't want to say divorce him, but something needs to change. Not the idiot. It sounds like you take care of everything on a daily basis while also working a full-time job and he does nothing to contribute. You asked him to do a small task, even if it wasn't his company that was coming, he should have obliged and done it to help you out. Obviously, I don't think you are overdramatic or have a stick up your butt. I love how you told him that if he wanted a mother to baby him, he should move back in with his mother. I personally wouldn't even touch the room just to make a statement that you won't budge on this issue. In dynamics like this, you are not seen as an equal. I live next to a couple whom I'm friendly with but not much past how are you and chat about things in the neighborhood. Last week I was out for a morning walk and noticed Amber lugging a butt ton of plants from her backyard to her porch. She said hello, so I stopped by to chat and see if she needed help. Looked like she was starting her own landscaping company. Turns out she finally felt inspired to work on the new garden she's been planning for months. She ripped out everything she currently had and was going to put it on the curb as freebies. I've always wanted to turn my lawn into a nice garden, so I felt like I struck gold. I offered to pay her because there was a substantial amount of shrubbery, but she refused. I wheelbarrowed everything over to my backyard, brought her some pastries as a thank you, offered cash again or to help with her new garden. She refused, and that was that. I spent the weekend with my boyfriend replanting everything and our backyard looks great. Until I get a knock on my door yesterday from her husband. Turns out, he said she gave permission for him to tell me this. She struggles with bipolar and was going through a manic episode. There is no new garden that she's been plotting for months, just a bipolar-induced attack on their backyard that she now regrets. She's too embarrassed to talk to me herself. I get it, I struggle with depression up the idiot, and the fewer people I have to explain myself to, the better, but she wants her plants back. Apparently that garden was her baby and in a fit of mania, she destroyed it. I'm sad for her because crappy decisions when you're in the metal toilet suck, but like, everything is already planted in my backyard and I'm not willing to put in the effort to dig everything up. It'll look awful, and yeah, that's what they're dealing with now, but it's not my fault. I nicely told him pretty much that and he just said okay and left. Now when I see them they completely ignore me. I've crossed paths with them 3 times since and her husband waved, but she didn't even look at me. I saw them taking soil and compost bags out of their car today and Amber just looked really upset and not at all excited to be working on a new garden. My boyfriend thinks I should offer to give at least some of them back because I'm not exaggerating. She gave me a ton of plants. I just don't want her to think she can be rude to me after her mistake then get what she wants. Am I the idiot? I was all very not the idiot until you pulled the rude card. She's not being rude, she's embarrassed and now trying to reconstruct what she destroyed. She's gutted. She feels like crap, and while you were under no obligation to return the plants, it wouldn't have been unreasonable to meet her in the middle and let her reclaim her most precious ones. Y'all might have even collaborated on your garden and you could have had a good gardening ally. You aren't technically in the wrong, but your attitude regarding what actually happened is terrible. Soft, you are the idiot for making this about you. Sure, If she put them on the curb and a stranger took them, she would be out of luck. However, she gave them to you and now she has to look at them in your yard every day. She isn't being rude to you, she's embarrassed. My friend is bipolar and it's really an awful, awful illness. I think it would be better to have some compassion for her and her husband and give the plants back. You could tell the husband that they can do the digging work and also require them to repair the grass. I was on the fence about judgment, but your final sentence tells me you are the idiot. Want to make amends? Provide your offer of money and help rebuild the garden with them. 'Cause right now, you even after the fact knowingly are shrugging off your neighbor's mental health and their good faith effort in trying to fix the situation. You are trying to gain sympathy from us saying you understand and have mental health struggles, then turn around and call her rude for being embarrassed. You are most definitely the idiot. You are the idiot.